Research suggests birth tourism in Canada is more prevalent than previously thought.
They're literally selling people to come to Canada to have their kid here.
It states that any person born on Canadian soil can get a birth certificate and apply for a Canadian passport right away.
We
cooperate with Canadian hospitals.
There are reportedly more than 24 so-called birthing houses that cater to foreign mothers in this province.
There has been a lot of talk about immigration lately, and for good reason. But while politicians in the media argue about policy, there is a massive problem unfolding before our very eyes. It's a loophole that has been described by a former immigration official as a way of using fraud to get citizenship. And right now, this loophole is being abused by thousands of people. It's called birth tourism, and it's abetted by Canada's birthright citizenship laws. My name is Ellie. I've worked in Canadian politics for the last decade, and I've covered it as a political journalist for the last 6 years. And in this video, which I've divided into 4 simple parts, and with the help of author, journalist, and immigration expert Candice Malcolm, we are going to expose exactly how this works and ask why Canada's Liberal government does not seem bothered by this. But first, if you value independent journalism, then be sure to subscribe, like this video, comment, hit the notification bell, and consider getting a paid membership for less than $5 a month. And now let's get to it. This is Simply Politics.
Journalism and commentary 1-year anniversary.
I don't believe journalism being funded by the government is the solution.
You have to rebuild the foundation.
You have to retell the story.
Market conservative
Other news that actually matters.
I hence wanted to ask, do you think they should answer their questions, especially if they're politically charged with... Part 1. The issue of birth tourism. Birth tourism involves foreign nationals traveling to Canada for the purpose of giving birth to a baby. They do this because under Section 31A of the Canadian Citizenship Act, any child born on Canadian soil automatically receives Canadian citizenship, even if neither of the parents are citizens or permanent residents. This system is known as jus soli, which is Latin for right of the soil, or more commonly as birthright citizenship. To better understand how this works, I spoke with journalist and author Candice Malcolm. She is the founder of True North and Juno News and has written the book Losing True North: Justin Trudeau's Assault on Canadian Citizenship, which I highly recommend buying and reading.
If you're born on Canadian soil, regardless of whether your parents are legal, illegal, regardless of whether they're tourists or whether they're actually Canadian, any child born on Canadian soil gets Canadian citizenship, which obviously in today's world of easy travel and cheap travel creates all kinds of concerns because Canada is a country that gives a lot away. We have a lot of universal benefits from healthcare to education, even to social security welfare payments that anyone can have access to. We have no safeguards stopping this, right?
Research suggests that a substantial share of non-resident births are strategic, meaning they are done with the intention to secure citizenship-linked advantages like access to public education, healthcare systems, and future immigration pathways. That's because under Canadian immigration law, a citizen, which in this case would be the baby, can sponsor their parents for permanent residency once they turn 18 years old and meet other requirements. So foreign nationals who give birth in Canada are opening the door to a long-term pathway to immigrate to Canada. They open the door to that possibility. Part 2, abusing the system. Under Canada's Citizenship Act, getting citizenship through birth tourism is not considered fraud. There are also no inadmissibility provisions under the Immigration and Refugee Protection Act to prevent foreign nationals from coming to Canada just to give birth and make their child a Canadian citizen. But Andrew Griffith, a former top immigration official, described the situation as basically using fraud to get citizenship for a child, and that the birth hotels are an abuse of the system. That said, Griffith has also criticized moves to
abolish birthright citizenship, saying that it's using a hammer to squash a fly.
There are thousands of these births annually from mothers from all over the world, including India, Nigeria, and China. In 2019-2020, 24% of all births at the Richmond Hospital in British Columbia were from non-residents. And in 2022-2023, 10.5% of the births at Toronto's Humber River Hospital and 9.4% of the births at Montreal's St. Mary Hospital were from non-residents. And a quick search online shows that people in foreign countries are very much aware of this loophole. There are companies openly advertising their services as birth hotels, which provide private residences and a comprehensive bundle of services to facilitate a foreign non-resident mother's giving birth in Canada. There are dozens of these birth hotels in British Columbia, and they mostly cater to Chinese nationals. There are also online forums that include questions as to where the cheapest hospital is for a non-resident to give birth in Canada. That's because the non-resident people who come and give birth do have to pay hospital fees. And Juno News, which is Malcolm's news outlet, reported that a Russian-language website was advertising their services at fees ranging up to $35,000 for migrant women interested in baby tourism. The website talked about a safe birth and a life full of opportunities with the prospect of free education, healthcare, employment opportunities, and international travel for the children. Meanwhile, Nouveau, which is a French-Canadian news outlet, reported that several African influencers were coming to Canada to give birth to children. One woman quoted said, quote, "I call it an investment to come and give birth in Canada. Tomorrow, when the child grows up, they can come and study in Canada at a lower cost." That influencer also claimed that a Canadian passport can allow the holder to flee Africa in the event of social unrest. Now, what are the costs to taxpayers in all of this? Well, as I previously mentioned, the hospitals, they actually make some money from this. That said, there have been cases of unpaid bills going up to $1 million. And in those cases, well, the taxpayer-funded hospitals are left with unpaid bills. Part 3, how to end the abuse. Malcolm believes that for this immigration abuse to end, Canada must do away with its birthright citizenship policy.
No other country does this. Like no other country. Canada and the United States are the only country that does this. The UK ended this practice in 1983. Okay, Ireland ended it. France doesn't have it. Germany, Portugal. In Asia, like India doesn't have it. They got rid of it in 1997. New Zealand, Australia. None of these countries have this ability, right? In order to become citizens of those countries, you have to have a parent that has legal status, either a citizen or legally there as a permanent resident. Canada and the US, again, are like the only two countries that have like no protection in this area.
Canada's federal conservatives have spoken out on this issue. Last October, conservative immigration critic Michelle Rempel-Garner tried to amend a government bill to restrict birthright citizenship to those who have at least one Canadian parent that is either a citizen or a permanent resident. Malcolm says this is a good start, but that it should be restricted further for citizens only, meaning that a parent would have to be a citizen and not a permanent resident.
It's like a step in the right direction, but it's still not good enough, right? Like anyone can get permanent residency. Some people get permanent residency before they even come to Canada, right? Like in the United States, it's harder to get a green card. You have to like be in the country for a certain amount of time and then apply for green card. Many immigrants are not on green card pass at all. In Canada, PR is like super easy to get. It's like the first visa that most people get.
That October conservative motion to restrict birthright citizenship was voted down by Liberal and Bloc Québécois MPs on the Immigration Committee. Part 4, the Liberals' defense of the status quo. As we've seen, birth tourism and birthright citizenship have become considerable issues in Canada. So why did the Liberals vote down a motion that would have addressed the issue? A motion that seemed common sense? And why do they continue to support this birthright citizenship status quo even though most of Canada's allies do not operate this way? Well, there are a few arguments that have been made both by Liberal MPs as well as other individuals in the public square. The first argument is that the justification for ending birthright citizenship is exaggerated,
with birth from non-residents being approximately over 1%. That said, 1% is still a lot of births.
and it's also a national number. And as we've seen in some places, that number is more like 25%, a quarter of all births being from non-resident mothers. And also, it being 1.2% does not make it right. It is still an issue that should be addressed, and that can be simply addressed. The second argument is that ending automatic birthright citizenship could leave some children without any citizenship at all, which would make them stateless. It's also been argued that reforms could create two tiers of people. That concern was echoed by Canada's Justice Minister, Sean Fraser, who said, quote, "I think when you start to pick and choose who amongst Canadians gets the full benefits of citizenship, you obviously enter into a very troublesome conversation." I asked Candice Malcolm her thoughts on these arguments.
I mean, it's not necessarily Canada's problem, right? Like Canada has to do what's best for Canadians and not worry about people who are not Canadian, right? Like the role of any government is to protect its own people. And Canada just doesn't have that mentality at all. We always think about the other people.
Another argument is that ending birthright citizenship would be bureaucratic and create significant administrative, economic, and social hurdles. However, Malcolm rejected that argument.
When you have kids, you go to the hospital. In order to get the birth certificate for the child, they need information about the parents, right? Like my husband was born in Iran. It's actually hard for him to get his records. And we had to have his records when our children were born because they needed to know like where your parents from. So like this idea that it'd be extra bureaucracy, it's not true. There's already bureaucracy. It's already there. They already have to verify who your parents are, making sure they are who they say they are. And that's like already literally built in. So I totally reject that argument. It's just not true.
My friends, Canada has a birth tourism problem that is enabled by our birthright citizenship. That said, the solution is rather simple. I think it's time for Canada to join its allies in having a more reasonable and restricted approach to Canadian citizenship. That's what I think. That's what Malcolm thinks. But I want to know what you think, so comment your thoughts down below. Make sure you like this video, and if you're subscribed, feel free to share it, and consider getting a paid channel membership, because unlike the legacy media, I do not take any money from the government. Until next time, God bless.